300,000 years ago, a human is crouching in the dirt next to a dead animal. Not an animal they killed, something a lion killed. They waited until the lion left, and now they have 20 minutes before it comes back. This is breakfast. They are not eating the meat first. They are going straight for the bones. Using a sharp rock, they crack them open and dig out the marrow inside, because marrow is fat, and fat is what the human brain runs on. This is not a bad day for this human. This is Tuesday. This is every day.
We think of ancient humans as hunters, spears and fire and heroic chases across open plains. But for most of human existence, we were not hunters. We were scavengers. We followed the actual predators and ate whatever they left behind. We were nature's cleanup crew. The tools we developed were not for killing. They were for cracking. The bones lions and leopards could not break open, the ones with the marrow still inside, those were ours. And that marrow is what fed the brain that eventually built everything you see around you right now.
When they were not scavenging, they were eating insects. Not occasionally, not as a dare, every single day. Termites, beetles, larvae, grubs dug from rotting wood. Insects have more protein per gram than beef. They're easier to find than large animals, and they do not fight back. This was not considered disgusting. This was lunch. Add to that bitter berries that tasted nothing like the fruit you know today, wild plants that were mostly tough and fibrous, a handful of nuts if they were lucky, everything raw, everything hard to digest.
And then fire happened. Somewhere between 400,000 and 1 million years ago, a human held food over a flame and everything changed. Cooked food is pre-digested by heat. Proteins break down, starches become accessible, calories that the raw gut could barely extract become immediately available. The body no longer needed such a large digestive system. That energy went somewhere else. It went to the brain. The human brain tripled in size because of fire, because of cooked food. The most important cognitive leap in human history was caused by someone accidentally making dinner.
Jump forward to 3,000 years ago, and we are in Egypt. The pyramids are going up, and we know exactly what the workers building them ate because the ancient Egyptians wrote everything down. The receipts survived. Bread and beer, every single day without exception. Not because ancient Egyptians lacked imagination, but because water in the ancient world was a death sentence. The Nile was alive with bacteria that killed people regularly. Beer was safer. Beer was nutritional. Beer was medicine. The bread, however, had a problem. The grinding stones used to turn grain into flour shed tiny particles of rock and sand into every batch, and there was no way to remove them. So every piece of bread, every day, contained grit. Every Egyptian who ate this bread ground their teeth down. Every single mummy ever examined by modern archaeologists shows the same thing. Teeth worn completely to the root. Not from age, from bread. They were in dental pain every day of their lives. Meat existed on the tables of pharaohs and priests. The average pyramid worker, the person doing the actual physical labor of building one of the greatest structures in human history, never tasted it. Not once. Their entire lives. Bread, beer, onions. That was it. 2,000 years ago, we are in Rome, and things get strange. The Roman Empire had running water, public baths, a legal system, roads that still exist. They had everything. And they chose to eat rotting fish juice on everything. Garum. It was everywhere, in every Roman kitchen, on every Roman table. Used the way we use salt today, it was made by packing fish into large clay jars with salt and leaving them in the open sun for weeks, sometimes months. The fish rotted completely. The liquid that drained out, that was garum. That went on everything. Archaeologists have found garum jars across the entire Roman Empire, from Rome to Britain to North Africa. The smell alone when these jars are opened 2,000 years later is reportedly unbearable. The wealthy Romans went further. Dormice were kept in special clay pots, fattened on walnuts for weeks until they could barely move, then roasted whole and served at dinner parties. Flamingo tongue, peacock brains, jellyfish, sea urchin. The Roman wealthy table read less like a menu and more like a list of things most modern people would refuse to touch.
The poor ate something called pulse, a gray paste, boiled emmer wheat, water, salt, sometimes a little garum. No texture, no variation, no flavor. Pulse for breakfast, pulse for dinner, pulse every day for their entire lives. One more thing about Romans. They ate lying down, reclining on couches arranged around a low table. Eating upright was what poor people did, what animals did. The truly civilized Roman digested horizontally. They believed it was better for the body. Modern doctors would disagree.
1,000 years ago, Europe is in the Middle Ages, and the food situation is defined by one problem. Nothing keeps. There is no refrigeration, no preservation that works reliably. Meat begins to turn within days in summer. And so, they eat the turning meat, and they cover it in spices, pepper, nutmeg, cloves, cinnamon. These were more valuable than gold. Not a metaphor, literally more valuable. Records show that a pound of pepper in medieval England was worth more than a pound of silver, because pepper masked the smell of meat that was already on its way out.
The staple meal was pottage, a stew that never really ended. The pot sat over the fire never fully went out. Into the pot went whatever was available. Roots, vegetables, old bread, scraps of meat, dried beans, whatever had been found that week. As ingredients broke down, new ones were added. The stew you ate on Friday had roots in it from Monday. It had been cooking for days, sometimes weeks. The flavor built and deepened, and occasionally something unidentifiable floated to the surface, and you ate it anyway, because it was that or nothing. Sugar in this world was medicine. Doctors prescribed it for infections, for almost everything. Only the extremely wealthy could access it at all. The average medieval peasant ate approximately 2 pounds of bread every single day. Not because they loved bread, because bread was the only reliable calorie source available. When the harvest failed, people did not go on a different diet. They starved. The closeness between a medieval peasant and death by starvation was not a background concern. It was the central fact of their existence. Every single day. Here is the thing that should stop you. The diseases killing most people today, heart disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, were almost entirely absent in ancient populations. Not because ancient humans were healthier. They were malnourished. They were in pain. They had terrible teeth and shorter lives. They were absent because ancient humans could never access enough sugar and processed food to get sick from it. They spent every day trying not to starve. There was no eating too much. There was only enough and not enough. And not enough was the more common experience.
We solved the problem. Across thousands of years of human ingenuity, fire, agriculture, preservation, trade, industrialization, we solved hunger so completely that the solution became the new problem. Ancient humans would walk into a modern supermarket and see paradise. Every color, every flavor, every texture available in unlimited quantity at any hour of any day. And we walk in and we get sick from it. That is the most human story ever told. Subscribe, because I make you smart.